Hello everyone, we are from group 2 and we want to discuss about the poem. The poem is Because I Could Not Stop for That. Before we start our presentation, I want to introduce my group. There are Ginta Armando, Marianus Paulino Mada, Theo Purnama and me, Malania Nila. So, let's continue to our presentation.
Because I could not stop for death. 1863. Written by Emily Dickinson. Because I could not stop for death. He kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove. He knew no haste. And I had put away my labor and my leisure too, for his civility. We passed the school where children strove, at recess, in the rain. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill. For only gossamer, my gown, my tippet, only tulle. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling on the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, the centuries, and yet feel shorter than the day. I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity.
Speaker and to whom he is speaking. The speaker is the poet itself. In this case is Emily Dickinson, but she does not really talk about herself. She is speaking to readers. The kind of poem. The kind of poem is narrative because this poem tells about a story in verse. Besides, it has elements like character. You can see this poem used first person such as I and we. So, this poem is the narrative type because this poem contains story verse and has character.
The central purpose of the poem. The central purpose of the poem is to tell readers about the chills of death, promising eternal life, and the will of life. From the right, it tells that we are reviewing the journey of life, from our birth to our last, when finally our body buried in cemetery. The eternity, which means the last journey of life. The wheel on carriage, which means rotating wheel of life. From those evidence, it can be concluded that the writer tells that life is a journey where everything begins and ended in the same way. We will take everything kindly and accepting it all as a part of our journey and keep the wheel of life rotating.
Figurative language. Personifications. A personification is a figure of speech that gives human qualities to something non-human. In this poem, there are some personifications. They are: first, he kindly stopped for me. The writer used he to describe the dead as human being. So, how would that stop for the writer? And the second, he knew no haste. It still stems with point 1. And next, for his civility. Same 2 with point 1. Still describe that as human being. And fourth is, he passed us. They describe that the dead can walk past us. And the last for personification is, the dews drew quivering and chill. How dews can feel quivering and chill? It's just noun, not a living thing. So how? Then there is also metaphor, but we forgot to add in this PowerPoint. So the metaphor in this poem is: we pause before a house that seems a swelling on the ground. Why metaphor? Because the writer see the swelling on the ground as a house. Thank you.
In this poem, we find some symbols. The first is children's trough. This is symbol of early life phase or the beginning of life. The second is fields of gazing grain. This is symbol of maturing life. The third is setting sun. This is symbol of old age where people will deal with the death. Fourth is gown. This is symbol of new life. When people are getting married, they enter a new life. Carriage is a symbol of time. The next is the sound pattern. We find that the sound pattern of this poem is rhyme. Why we determine that rhyme is a sound pattern of this poem? We find a same pattern from this poem, that is A, B, C, B. And we find it on verse 1, verse 2, verse 5, and verse 6. We can see on verse 1, death, me, ourselves, immortality. The pattern of this verse is A, B, C, B. It is same with verse 2. Haste, away, to, civility. The pattern is A, B, C, B. Verse 5, the pattern is A, B, C, B. It's located on the word seemed, ground, visible, and again ground. On verse 6, the pattern is A, B, C, B. It's located on yet, day, had, eternity.
Okay, friends, that's all from our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention and goodbye.